and welcome to the first Inside Government show for the spring 2017 semester here at QUILL Community College, and broadcast on Time Warner Communications, Verizon Fios, the Auburn Regional Media Access, ARMA, and Win 89.1, the college's radio station. I'm your host, Guy Cosentino. We are delighted to have, as we have always done over the last, I think, 9 years, for our beginning of our semester, the City of Auburn's Mayor, Michael D. Quill, who is starting his 10th year as the mayor of the City of Auburn. We're going to talk to him about a number of issues this afternoon, including water quality, the city's ownership of the Auburn Doubledays, and plans for a new visitor center in downtown. Mayor, welcome. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Guy. Happy New Year and happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you. We both apparently wore our red for just this.
Correct.
Before getting into all those, you have had a new city manager on for a couple of months now, Jeff Diger.
Correct.
I still call him Chief. It's going to be some transition.
I stumble myself occasionally.
On that. How's he doing?
He's doing terrific. He's really an amazing young man, not because of his past, but he really is. Attending meetings with him, he comes up with very intelligent questions. In my mind, he's surpassing what I expected from him, so he's doing a terrific job. So
on the city's to-do list at this particular stage, is he starting to put together with Lauren Owens your budget?
Laura Wills, that's correct.
Laura Wills, I'm sorry. Laura Wills, your budget?
That's correct.
So where are you in that process?
I'm sure that going with the past, department has right around Christmas holidays, they receive their packet. I know is in charge of the budget for the mayor and council. I received my packet 2 or 3 weeks ago.
So you still have to submit your paperwork as well as everybody else?
That is correct.
Okay.
Although ours is much, much shorter than anyone else's, as you know.
It's salary, yes, printing, phone, or something of that nature.
Along those lines, yes.
Okay.
We're pretty close.
Don't buy salt in your office or anything?
No overtime. No
Gotcha.
overtime.
So he's in that process, and then when, and we would hope to have him on in the spring as well, when will he present his budget?
We do have a calendar, but I don't have it present. I know we have to have it signed, sealed, delivered around the 20th of June, so working backwards.
So your expectation is sometime in May he'll release?
April, May, somewhere along there.
And on that, the governor released his budget, and we'll hold off on the $2 million for a few minutes.
Sure.
Is there any new aid to cities?
No, my fellow councilors, most of them were in Albany this week at NICOM conference.
That's the New York Conference of Mayors?
That's correct. And a big topic was discussed was the aid for distressed cities, which hasn't risen in quite a few years, and it's hurting, and that's Conference of Mayors' #1 priority, bringing that back up to where it belongs.
And so do you have, are they still calculating right now? There is a complicated mathematical formula for this 2% tax cap. Does the city have an idea of what the tax cap level is right now for this coming year?
It approximated 2% once.
So you're going to be going up a little bit higher. Is that because of inflation or?
Because of the formula,
okay. Does that allow you to raise that much money?
Last year, I think the figure we quoted, we could raise $15,000 with a 2% tax cap.
So if I remember correctly, you said you could buy half a police car or pave about 150 feet of city streets.
If we bid it properly, you're correct.
We'll may come back to the budget in a little bit.
Sure.
You spoke, you were part of two groups that spoke last month at the Wednesday morning roundtable.
Correct.
There was your planning staff, which dealt with this City Sparks program, and we can talk about that at another day.
Right.
You really presented on this visitor center.
That's correct.
I would not say it was the friendliest crowd that you've been in front of in a while, but it mainly was about one particular piece of this, was about the visitor center in a whole, and it was mainly about the YMCA parking.
That's correct.
Let's leave that to the end.
Okay.
First of all, what is the visitor center?
The visitor center will be a regional visitor center. The governor has set aside money for I believe it's 8 different regional centers for either a new facility or updating present ones. For example, in Geneva, that will be an update to their visitor center, which is located at the foot of Seneca Lake. In Long Island, there was a brand new visitor center, is the City of Auburn's regional visitation center will be. It's a brand new facility.
So has the governor, I know this occurred, you found out about it, you and City Clerk Mason were at a conference, it was in November?
Sometime during the fall, probably could be November.
And the governor announced it. That was all news to you.
Well, the governor really didn't announce it. It was a session in regards to tourism across the state. It was never mentioned. On the way home, we received a couple phone calls saying that we're going to get a visitor center, and we had no idea what anyone was talking about.
So any idea how much Albany is going to give you?
The highest figure I've heard is $10 million. The least I've heard is $5 million. So I would have to guess somewhere $8 million approximately, depending. You know, the governor has a very aggressive schedule for design, build, completion of this, which dramatically increases the cost of erecting this building.
And he wants them done by the end of this year, beginning of next year?
We've heard all kinds of dates. We've heard the end of this year. We've heard maybe into the 3 months into the 2018. So that is yet to be determined.
At a time when he would be running for re-election. I'll
Those
say
are-
that.
those-
You
those
don't
are the
have to say that.
Those are the dates we were told.
So, all right, so let's back up a little bit here.
Sure.
So is there, for the visitor center, what exactly will be in there? The site that you're looking at is across from City Hall, which
Correct.
is the old Women's Union.
Correct.
It's sometimes known as the Seward Lot.
Sometimes known as a YMCA lot.
Depending on who you talk to.
Right.
Also, it's where the gazebo is that
Yes.
was built with employee funds from the city. What exactly is going to go there?
It will be, the best way to describe it, it will be a 2-story building with a basement, so it's 3 stories to a point. It will be a regional visitor center.
So it's not someplace you just go to pick up pamphlets.
A lot of it will be there. A lot of it will be interpretive now with the internet and apps and different things, so you could plan out a whole trip as to what you're going to do, whatever. It's going to be similar to a stop on the thruway, but it's not going to be a stop on the thruway, a rest area.
So would it be? So would you bring something like the Cuyahoga County Visitors Bureau, where Meg Vanek is on the corner of the Loop across from Boyle Center? Would that come into that building as well?
It could possibly.
Okay.
There have been discussions. Nothing is cast in stone as of yet. The big point being, it will be a regional center. Many people think, why are we going to have a Harriet Tubman Visitor Center there and then have one either on Parker Street, where her church was, or at the church grounds itself on South Street? This is to encompass the entire area.
So you might get information on Sterling,
Absolutely.
the State Fair,
Absolutely.
fishing in Geneva.
The wine
trail.
Wine trail, excuse me. Everything is.
So
will
that
be
may not
included.
even mesh with what Meg Vanek does, because what she's doing at her visitor center is Cuyahoga County centric.
Well, it would be Cuyahoga County. You know, Cuyahoga County is a big part of it, and Auburn. We have many attractions here in Auburn.
But she shouldn't be hawking other places outside of the area, would she?
We'll see if that's
Hawking
okay.
is my word, by the way.
You know, I've encountered people, and I know other members of council have. They would be in an event at the Seward Mansion or Tubman Home or the Willard Chapel, and you get talking with people and where they're from. They have no idea that there's other things in Auburn to do. They come for the Willard Chapel or what Tubman Home.
So you mentioned the Parker Street and the South Street,
Right.
and those are all moving forward with the National Park Service,
That's
and it
correct.
sounds like the city has traveled light years from 2 years ago.
That's correct.
On that. So did it get kind of mixed up by one time the city, because they had put something in the upstate regional money, they had named it a Harriet Tubman Visitor Center.
Yes, yep.
And then what Harriet Tubman the national park, by using the same names or similar names, did it get tangled up?
That's what I feel that was a big mistake on the part of Auburn. We used the Harriet Tubman name. We tried to encourage it because of Harriet Tubman, and with everything moving forward with that. Hindsight is 20/20, so we should really have come up with another name. Not to change, the mission has always been the same, just poor choice of names.
So will the city of Auburn operate this, or will this be operated by the city or the county, the state, or a combination thereof?
I think it will be a combination of all of us, but mainly it will be on the city's shoulders. When this building is completed, everything is done, signed off, checked off, the building will become the property of the city of Auburn.
So my favorite two phrases in the New York State lexicon: unfunded mandate. So if they put it in there, is the state going to give you money to operate that?
No, not to the best of my knowledge, no.
So in the end, this will be something that taxpayers will have to pay for.
Correct. It'll be another city-owned building.
And with that in mind, is there a local share for building the operation, or don't you know yet? In the sense that when the state has done these regional economic development council, and you're a member of that, you represent part of Cuyahoga County, you're one of the 4 members locally. If you did, let's say, either the milk processing plant or you did another project, the state requires a local share from the developers.
Right.
Is there going to be a local share required of the city?
There is up front. There's
Okay.
a local share. I think the city share is approximately $230,000.
And could you say that property is worth that alone?
Well, that was a big selling point. When the governor first approached us, he wanted to know what we could offer, what we brought to the table. And we said, we really don't have anything other than a property. We could come up with a property. So that was somewhat of a trade-off.
So despite the speed up of the program, which makes it more expensive, when you talked to the Wednesday morning roundtable, you had mentioned, and let's again say $8 to $10 million in that.
Yep.
You had said that the project would not only be just that building, you're looking at some other upgrades. For example, the triangle next to Westminster Church and the nursery school. You know, whenever it was put in decades ago,
Old mayors they're tough. I don't know.
watch them. You know, man, I hear you.
And I don't mean to hold past mayors.
No, I
Let me
understand.
rephrase that.
So in that particular, because I didn't do that one, so you want to change that. That's part of this design as well.
That has to be part and parcel of it. And I'll start out in no particular order, but the road, some people call Lincoln Street, I call it the Loop Road, in front of the parking garage. That has to be addressed. Signage, access to the parking garage. You have to encourage more people to use the parking garage. As you go further to the west, there's an island in the middle of William Lincoln Street. I'm sure at the time it was a great idea, but it really does not work out.
And are you looking also, I thought you had said to the group on a couple weeks ago, about a month ago, was that some of this money might also go to help with the parking garage. Am I correct on that?
It all depends on what costs are, but it will look at a development plan, what could be done with that. At the same time, we have to look at is the Seward Mansion, how does this affect them? What is going to work for them? We have to look at Westminster Church, which is a stake there. And last but not least is the YMCA and their parking.
So again, before getting to that particular item, do you have any idea how many people would come to this facility? Does the state have numbers on that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And there again, Steve Selvik brought it up. We have to determine.
He's in your planning office.
He is in our planning.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Before a concrete plan can come out, we have to have an idea as to how many visitors and how to accommodate them and what is going to be appropriate, what's going to be necessary. We don't have those. We don't have good figures in regards to that.
So that particular site was picked because the city owns it?
That's correct.
It's
It's also on Route 34, the Harriet Tubman Highway, the adjacent, it's in the historic district.
Were other sites looked at?
They were talked about, but this really was head and shoulders above all the others.
So at that event, and I've since gotten some other questions from people. So one of the questions that came up was why not use the Callett site, which is on State Street, which the city does own?
The big hold up on the Callett site is there's no parking. There's no access to the building. There's still.
So this parking lot would allow, sorry to interrupt, but
No.
I know this was an issue that came up with the visitor center at one point, was Meg Vanek's operation, where somebody came with an RV or a camper. There's at least parallel parking in some areas.
Right.
You need parking for this facility. Am I correct on that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So again, Callett's would be is a parking issue.
More of an access issue.
Okay. I picked up something that you said at that meeting, which I'm surprised did not make the headline in the Citizen the next day, is you indicated that you didn't think anything would ever be built on the Callett site.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's correct. With the background of the Callett property, going forward, I'd certainly love to wave a wand and have everything resolved, but I think it'd be a long time, if ever, that it's finally resolved.
See, I thought that was the bigger story coming out of that day.
Well, some people don't want to touch it either.
So another site that had been mentioned has been the Rondina site. Not the Rondina site where the hotel is, but there where Domino's Pizza and Henry McDonald and his wife have a dive shop.
Right.
That has been
Keep in mind in regards to that, I haven't heard that site before that I recall of. They've talked about the police fire station. They've talked about the OTB. All of them are not in city possession. So we would have
and
to.
the same would go with Expert. I know one of the ones that came up that day was the old purple building of Expert Tire, which is near Lattimore Hall and all that.
We don't have the money to purchase any of these properties. So trying to do this, I hate to say it on the cheap, but being practical, we had to take something that was almost shovel ready.
So I think the group was with you Wednesday morning, because I think this was the first meeting I had been to where it was not a city-run meeting, but it was a general community meeting.
Right.
The crowd was with you, need a visitor center. Where you kind of lost them, not you, but the general concept, has been this issue of the YMCA parking. So from those you've heard, I know there's a petition going around. I don't know if they've been delivered to City Hall yet. What is the objection from users of the Y?
Where my desk is in the mayor's office, and it's changed a little bit since you were there. I look out the window, I looking at the YMCA Seward City of Auburn parking lot, and from probably 8 o'clock in the morning all the way through the day, higher peaks early and late, there are young parents, grandparents, single parents bringing their children into the Y for daycare with car seats and we used to call them diaper bags. I don't know what they call them anymore.
They're still diaper bags.
Still diaper bag. It's an armful, and it's hard to move them around. So I do have sympathy for them. It's not to exclude anyone, but they want to be able. They don't want to park in the parking garage, and I can understand.
So why don't they want to park in the parking garage?
I've heard all their safety. It's too far to go. It's a hazard crossing Williams Street.
Okay, but if it's too far to go, if you're going to exercise, that kind of defeats that.
But if you categorize the ones that are going for exercise versus the mom and dads who are dropping their children off on the way to school, being a grandparent, I can understand.
Okay, so would the redesign in part of that triangle by the Y and by Westminster, you and I have had the side conversation that is a really dangerous street when people open up the doors to try to get kids out and is that something you're looking at traffic flow?
Everything's on the table. The entire length of William Street, in my mind. Once again, is it Lincoln Street? Is it Loop Road in front of the parking garage? All that has to be part and parcel of a program.
So one thought that has come out and it's been talked about has been the city selling the lot on Court Street, which is adjacent to Pomeroy Park, but it's equal distance to the side door. Has the city been looking at that?
We have had, I've been to 2 meetings with the YMCA folks in regards to that. I've had conversations with our city manager and our corporation council, but nothing has been determined as of yet.
So would you be willing to sell it? Would you give it to them if they want to maintain it? I know the city's always looking to get rid of property because there's a liability.
Right.
First of all, you like to get things back on the tax rolls. That would not happen with the Y or Court Street. But you usually want to lose liability and maintenance costs.
You know, one half of me says, yes, just give it to them, let them take it. But the other half of me says, here's an entity that do not pay taxes, and we're going to give them a piece of our property. Our revenues from that are approximately $5,000 a year. So what happens if Wegmans say, well, we could use all of Osborne Street, and not that they have, but just as for an example, what about that? It would put the city in a tough position if we were just to say, okay, take it and be done with it.
We belabored this enough, but just one question: were you in the design process? Have you hired a firm?
We're very, very close. We had a conference call in regards to that the other day. There will be some meetings upcoming with them to finalize a contract.
So you have a firm that you...
Well, we have a firm that we're working with. We want to hire. So.
Okay. Is that public, or are you still?
No, not at this point. The state park service is a big part of this, as well as the governor's office is the direction we're taking.
Oh,
so
don't tell me there's a control issue here. No.
I'm just saying we're all involved.
So let's switch from parking and visitor center to another tourism issue, and that's double days.
Yes.
The city has been looking, and when you were on in the fall, you talked about the city changing its relationship, or at least Auburn Community Baseball. Auburn Community Baseball was founded how many ever decades ago, and right now it operates the ball team on behalf of the city at Falcon Park.
Correct.
You're looking to change that.
Yes, we
Somewhat.
are. Yes, we are. There's two things going on, and I assume this is the way you want to go. We're in the process of the ball team becoming an LLC, a limited liability corporation, which will have a different number of board of directors, and they have all been selected by council resolution. We're just waiting for all the paperwork to clear Albany and come back to us so we could get that started.
Because right now the Auburn Community Baseball Board is you and the city manager.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So you have Adam Winslow has been hired. Has he started already?
He has.
Okay.
He has.
And what happened to the former general manager?
Through a
And
mutual,
I can't even pronounce his name.
Mike
so
Vucinas.
Vucinas,
Through a
I'm
mutual
sorry.
agreement, Mike was actually, he informed us that he was looking for a position elsewhere, and we decided that time, well then, if you're not really happy here, maybe it's time to sever our ties. It was an amicable agreement.
So local individuals on the LLC board?
Yes.
And is this a way to start the discussion, or have you already started the discussion to sell the team?
It will assist in getting the city out from under the ball team. They have it in the hand of a board of directors. But at the same time, we have been advertising the ball club being for sale, and we've had probably 3 to 5 different individuals or interested parties visit the area.
Now, a couple of years ago, you and I had this conversation. Valued, I think we read it in Governing Magazine. I think I sent you an article. The value of minor league franchises like Auburn were about $5 million.
Right.
Is that what it roughly is now?
That's what the league is saying that we
The New York Penn League.
The New York Penn League, I'm sorry, should be. They really don't want to approve a sale for anything less than that.
So the big issue that Auburnians most likely don't care who owns the team, because they don't know that they own it. Many of them don't.
Right.
But it was taken over for some debt issues back in the 1980s. Yep. That's what got the city to do the funding in 1992-93 with Governor Cuomo. A long way to get to that point is a condition of the sale, it stays in Auburn.
There will be wording in that regard to keep it here in Auburn. And I've been going to ballpark since I was about 10 years old, and it is Auburn. The ball team is Auburn. We want them to stay, but there's only so much we can do. We're hoping that the fans turn out this year and every year to support the team. That's what's needed. That way no one would think about moving the team if we have a winner here.
And so for many years, the city was getting paid by Auburn Community Baseball.
Right.
And that has changed because obviously we've read about some loans in the last couple of years.
Right.
But it would be hard to sell the team, though, with an ironclad guarantee that it would always stay here.
Yes.
Am I correct on that?
That's correct. And at the same time, it's not that easy to move a ball team. There's not always just because you may want to move the franchise from Auburn to somewhere else, there's no guarantee that there's a buyer out there or willing to do that. It's the Batavia ball team has been for sale for a number of years. They cannot find a buyer or a place to move it to.
So, because you need a governor, most likely you come in with half the money for that. So let's talk about the governor.
Sure.
So the governor made a presentation late one night about 3 weeks ago about his budget. Mm-hmm. And one of the 2 communities that he mentioned in that were the town of Owasco and the city of Auburn, about some $2 million in grants for, it sounds like, water upgrades. What exactly is it for?
I do know that as of within the last few weeks, the city of Auburn had ordered a study in regards to what we have to do to keep our water clean because of the algae.
The blue algae, blue-green, okay.
And DEC has come up with the money to underwrite that cost. It was a $75,000 engineering study as to what we can do or how we go about it.
So that's for the study but the upgrades to both, it sounds like the upgrades to both Owasco and Auburn would cost combined $2 million. Could be.
I think that's a real low number.
You do.
To be honest.
Okay, so with that, So the money, the 75 is to study the project. This 2 million, which has not been approved, am I correct on that?
That's correct.
That would go to upgrades to facilities if it's approved.
That's correct.
I thought I heard the DEC commissioner yesterday say that if you had to deal with all the communities in New York, it's an $80 billion
Absolutely.
bill.
Absolutely.
Is the only way to deal with these types of problems, though, state intervention in the sense of the costs involved?
Look at our water bills, President. My wife gave me a hard time.
I did see it.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to ask you about that. I was going to leave it for Jeff Dygert if we have him on in a couple of weeks.
My wife gave me a hard time over it, but I hate to say it this way, but for many years we've underpaid for what we are receiving for our water.
So the same side as the DEC commissioner saying what he said yesterday, Senate Majority Leader Flanagan also said he now wants an earmark list, which the governor has, as of yet, refused to give.
Right.
With that in mind, if they don't get that list, do you think that money's at risk?
I would hope not, because initially it affects Auburn and Cuyahoga County, but going down the road, there's other communities that are in the same place that we are with their water quality, or soon to be. So it's society changes, our world changes. So just how can we cut half the people out or quarters out and do it for someone else?
When do you expect the study work to be done?
We had a presentation last week at council in regards to it. There was talk of activated charcoal and or ozone. I would hope within the next month or two we'd have a complete report.
And that would give you an idea of
of what the cost would be.
Last item, in 2 weeks, March 4th, you're being recognized.
I am.
For what?
I'm still trying to.
Well, this is Tyburn Academy.
I realize I'm having fun with it. Tyburn Academy. I don't know whether it's an annual event, the first time or whatever. I will find out more on Friday. They are honoring people who have worked in public safety, a veteran, and a outstanding member of the community. So I've hit 2 out of the 3. So,
well, congratulations. So this will be a fundraising event for Tyburn.
That is correct.
So they can go to their website, find out. It's on March 4th. Where is it at?
Springside.
And so people can buy tickets, and
Absolutely.
It's not a roast. Because
well,
I know you were roasted 2 years ago.
And I enjoyed that. That wasn't bad. But no, it's the best of my knowledge. It's not a roast. I look forward to it. I'm very, very appreciative of it. I make light of it because I'm embarrassed by it. But Guy, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to tell the folks there that night, I've been a very lucky man. Things have gone my way for a long, long time, and it's truly appreciated.
Well, congratulations on that honor.
Thank you.
And thanks for being with us. We hope you'll come back in a couple of weeks to give us another city update. We only covered 3 subjects, believe it or not, other than the city manager.
Whatever you want to do.
So our guest has been Auburn Mayor Michael D. Quill. And like I said, I hope we'll be back during the budget season, maybe with City Manager Dygert, I'm almost going to say Chief. In a moment, we'll be right back with representatives of the Owasco Lake Watershed Association, AULA, to give a lake update on Beyond the Front Page, as well as talk about their upcoming Owasco Lake Day and Owasco Lake March. On Thursday, we will be back with 2 Inside Government shows. The first will feature Auburn Superintendent of Schools Jeffrey Parazola and Business Manager Lisa Green to give us a district update and specifically talk about the governor's 2017-2018 proposal and how that impacts school districts like Auburn. That will be followed by a discussion on more than $4 million in new grants to fight addiction locally with Cuyahoga County Director of Community Services Ray Bazzari. In the coming weeks, we'll have several Inside Government shows featuring Senator John D. Francisco, Cuyahoga County Legislator Keith Batman, and Owasco Town Supervisor Ed Wagner. And on Beyond the Front Page, we'll be talking and focusing on Cuyahoga Centers, as well as the local efforts on the Make-A-Wish Foundation, among other topics. Before we go, though, we would like to let you know that you can give us your thoughts and ideas for questions. You can contact us at Inside Government or Beyond the Front Page at COZGUYTHO@AOL.com or by mailing us at either show at 141 Dunning Avenue, Auburn, New York 13021. I'm Guy Cosentino for Cuyahoga Community College. We want to thank you for watching. We hope you have a good night and have a great tomorrow.
You have those questions?
Yeah, that's what happened.
Okay, you don't want to sit that way. Yeah, a little bit, yeah, a little bit more towards the, yeah. See, we got you lit up, so,
Well, you do.
yeah.
Lit
Yeah,
up.
kind of lit.
Where are those?
Yeah, no, you're good, you're good, you're bright. Now, if you want to